Well, Associate Professor of Law Sam Amadi joins us in the studios now to look at these trending story. Very warm welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you, Chris.
It's now the local councils, the Supreme Court judgment, enforcement by the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, the Attorney General, and Minister of Justice seems to be picking up. You don't conduct elections, you aren't going to get your allocations.
Well, you know, this is not the first time. The Supreme Court has actually said this long ago when dismissed local government councillors went to court. But what is special is the Supreme Court now says that they're entitled to impound, you know, their finances. But the presidency and the governors are on the ping pong. This is just political game. Even the presidency going to that court, you know, there's a game of who controls the federal, who controls the local government for both financial and electoral purposes. And so the governors are trying to be smart. So they're fixing their appointees selected across. For example, I heard a guy talk about in Imo State. Even the ruling party that won, the ruling party did not conduct any primary. The governor chose the candidates and told those who bought for to come particularly to collect back their money. So they're not taking anything for granted. They're selecting the people who will be the candidates, and they're selecting the process to make sure they win. Okay, so we're going to be left in a situation where you have elected local governments, but primarily you have extension of the governor's SAs running those, you know, outfits. And this is the question we have to answer. I mean, Nigeria's major challenge to development is now election. You know, we'll be better off if we had no electoral democracy like China. Meritocratic, organized, disciplined. So if you don't have, it's better to have no democracy and find a reasonable mode of selection than to have a bad election.
I hope your suggestion is not going to be seen as subversive.
No, I'm a scholar, a scholar of political science, of political thought.
You're speaking, okay.
Authoritatively. Research shows if democracy is great, real democracy is wonderful, but rigged democracies are worse than no democracies. And I tell you the reason why. Look at how much you're spending for elections, okay? Now, the election creates an illusion of accountability. And so people have argued, actually, that local governments should probably run more like town unions, select the best and the brightest, and, you know, some kind of process of selection. Because we spend a lot of money, run elections that basically end up being the governors, whether PDP, APC, UPN, whatever state Labour Party, the governors just fix their guys. So the question is, why don't you allow them to fix their guys?
Is that not why some Nigerians are saying that INEC should take over the, you know, conduct of local government elections?
The INEC that ought to be disbanded, as a matter of fact. I mean, INEC, the biggest tragedy after 2023, biggest tragedy, was that we didn't disband INEC and recreate INEC according to the Ways report. INEC, progressive deterioration of election. I mean, so the electoral system...
And that's why we're having apathy in elections. I mean, I've seen in an off-circle election in Edo State,
with all the campaigns,
less than 20%
with all the
of the voting...
intense campaign of the parties, every day. Adverts, only 20%. Again, if you watch what's going on now, the parties have discovered how they can even trash IRF, trash this, and the Supreme Court, the courts are there to endorse everything. So we are in a terrible situation where we are going to walk back to underdevelopment because we are focusing on a shambolic electoral system. And look at government. So look at what happened. Look at Enugu, clear all. Look at Sokoto, clear all. Kwara, Imo. People are saying, and of course I heard a report from Imo, which is my state, was that people didn't even know there was an election.
So how is it going to be like in Rivers State on October 5th? Fubara versus Wike, APP versus
except
PDP.
The federal government smashes Fubara. Fubara did the same thing that Hope did or that another governor has done. So we are living in self-denial that we have a democratic electoral system.
The democracy is not growing in Nigeria?
No. Democracy has three components. First component is elections. The second is democratic freedom. The third is responsiveness. Elections are not working. At the national level, if we don't disband INEC and reconsider, look, we always had a committee under Yaradua, smart people, Professor, even Wale Akinyemi, Kuka, everybody was gathered together. And they told you that the answer to this process to have an independent electoral commission constituted in a manner that's independent. Now look at what has happened in the last election, since 2023. You've added Wike's cousins, party members, former chief of staffs to go to people in power. How are you going to have an INEC where partisans are conducting an election? Now you have local government where, like SEC in Imo, no engagement to stakeholders. They are still waiting for confirmation. This election is tomorrow. So this sham, this sham is not just tragic, comical, but it's tragic because anytime, that's the word I'm making, if either you have a fair system of, like local areas, you see, look at systems in the world, like China, I gave an example. They have a process of electing the best and the brightest. Democracy is great, like Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, okay? But if you're going to have the type we have in Africa, by the way, people will sit back and say, why did Burkina Faso fall under military rule? Why did Niger fall under military rule? Why did Mali fall under military rule? Why are we having attempted coup in Sierra Leone, in several places, in Guinea, and so on? Elections have failed woefully. And elections' merit is that they are a conflict management structure. You know, when there's a free and fair election, people go home, you can get a point and wait for next for 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's a conflict management structure. But when you have a shambolic election, it's actually a crisis fomenting structure. So we are building ourselves up to an explosion. And so the part out of it is very simple, 2 ways. For national election, disband INEC now, no further elections. Reconstruct INEC according to Uwe's report, where stakeholder parties themselves populate the INEC. And then they make decisions that are open and transparent. Look at the crisis over Edo. Somebody says, oh, we don't want the governor, the former governor's brother. He said, I'm a cousin, but I should be there. Even in ordinary regulatory function, they want to call conflict of interest. You withdraw yourself. Because whether you are honest or not, the mere fact that there's a substantive connection between you and the subject matter and the parties, you exclude yourself. Simple, commonsensical. But here we have people who are paid up members of political parties, being expected to deliver free and fair election, where the economic cost of being in power is all or nothing. I mean, this is a war. With power, you are rich in Nigeria. Without power, you are damned. So I think that we are making a mistake and hurting our country if we continue this sham. The local government is supposed to be the place where you develop economic goods.
Blueprints,
that
gradual
drive
ones, yeah.
multidimensional poverty, that deals with human well-being, access to basic needs, schools, primary education, healthcare. And then every year you have governors go through very annoying, selfish and open bazaar of so-called election. Why are we hurting ourselves and mocking ourselves? So why don't we say, you know what? Why don't the governors, why don't we scramble local government as a tier of government and say, every state, constitute yourself how you want. You will see that governors themselves, no need going through wasting our money to do election. Okay, you are a governor of a state. Then you manage the local government as sub-unit of the state government. Develop those places, generate wealth, and solve the problems. Let's not just keep pretending that every year we spend. Look how much INEC spends every election. In fact, if you called Edo Council of Chiefs and Oba, if you called Oba of Benin to sit over Council of Chiefs in Edo, they will get a better outcome than what this process has given you. So this illusion that, democracy, elections, and that's where this international community are cheating us, funding INEC and observers for going through a sham every 4 years. And so what I'm saying is, look, if you can't fix election, if you can't run a free and fair election, then you're worse off running rigged elections. And so, for national elections, scrap INEC, reconstitute according to West report. Very simple. A simple bill is saves. Truncate the tenure of those commissioners who have been put in by politicians to come and do that. Truncate it. And it's shameful that the leading parties, the PDP, the APs, the Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar himself, Peter Obi himself, these guys are everywhere all over the map, looking for how to be in power in 2027, but failing to do the basic work of taking hold of the electoral system and reforming it. So what this noise about, I want to be president, we are doing merger to face this totally bankrupt structure we are running. So it pains me that we self-inflicted delusion that somehow we have an INEC that politicians populate and construct. And then the INEC will suddenly become a saint and then give it can work. And they go to local government. You say governors should run elections, they run it how they like. Let's stop wasting resources. See, we're underdeveloped. We need to harness all resources and drive development. I argue that you can develop without this waste of electoral system. Construct a system at local level that allows local institutions, town unions, like in the South, where we have members of those town unions, let them come together and develop a structure in selecting local government chairman and councillors. True, in fact, in the First Republic, we had most of our governors' premiers were delegated election. So the elect House of Assembly members, they sit and elect a governor. So we should sit back and rethink, why are we spending this money creating more conflicts with no real elections and therefore no real potential for development? That is really the point here. So Imo, Sokoto, Rivers will go according to, and if you look at the map, watch what's going to happen. Not one state will conduct a reasonable election. In fact, the one of Imo is brutal. People didn't even come out. It's not even that it was rigged. In many places, there was no election. But the candidate has emerged 27 over 27. I mean, those mockery. And reasonable, matured human beings are going to this torture. Both opposition, everybody is just laughing and wearing suit and waiting for how they will use the system to their advantage. That's horrible.
All right, thanks so very much. Associate Professor of Law Sam Amadi, Arise Analyst. I forgot to put that, Director, Abuja
School of Social and Political Thought.
Thank you very much for coming on Newsnight. Okay, we'll go on a short break again, and when we return, we'll got more stories for you. And just stay with us. That's after the break.
What does it mean to be unusual? It's something that comes naturally, something you